Hi, Tom Brown here, talking with Scott Reed, CEO of Hardy Reed in Tupelo, Mississippi. And Scott, I know when people come into your office, one of the first words they're going to hear from you and everyone here in your business is fiduciary and the fiduciary debate. So if you could, tell us a little bit about, what that is and how Hardy Reed is involved in that.
Well, Hardy Reed's been around, the team has been around since 1987. And we worked in the brokerage world for a long time. And as we started to see how if we're going to work with the end client, the person that actually has the money that they're investing, whether it's an institution or private client, if we're going to work with that person or group, how do we make that relationship better? And over the years, it just kept getting more and more apparent to us that we had to put their interest above our own. Problem with that is that in our industry, arguably somewhere around 85% of our industry professionals don't have that requirement. And we didn't have that requirement. We were trying to force that issue of stating on the front end that we were going to put their interest above our own in a business that really sells product. A business where there are a lot of smart people and they're good people, but they're selling product to someone in a free enterprise system, in the entrepreneurial world of America. Selling a product and trying to make as much as you can off the product is considered to be a noble cause, and so that's what most people in our business do. The problem in our business is that most people at the end, the end client doesn't know that that's what we're doing, and we had a problem with that. And so we, in 2006, it had just gotten to a point where we could not function as a fiduciary. A fiduciary is someone who puts the client's interest above their own and has an ongoing obligation to keep up with the investments that they use on behalf of their clients. We weren't required to do that in the system that we were in the brokerage world, and we wanted to do that, and they didn't want to do that because they didn't want the liability for what you're saying you're going to do. You're going to take on legal liability for managing things in the client's best interest. Well, we started Hardy Reed because of that, because that's what we wanted to do. Our goal was to create a conflict of interest-free environment for clients, which we have, I think legally we're not allowed to say that it's conflict of interest-free, but I will say that we're about as close as anybody can get to that. And so that was our goal when we started the firm. We thought that if we could be smart, if we could use fundamental empirical evidence to create portfolios for our clients, and we didn't wake up every day thinking we were smarter than the markets, which is really an impossibility, that if we put our clients' interest above our own, we could do something really good. And at the end, it would probably be good for the firm as well.
Yeah. And you've been someone, too, that you speak on this to groups. And, what are some of the reactions that you hear from the people when you speak to the groups?
Well, I guess I've gotten to be, I speak nationally a lot now. And I think the reason is because we started this earlier than everybody else did. And so when the entire industry started shifting to, when clients started demanding to have their interests put first, and our industry started trying to shift to what clients wanted, people looked around and said, oh yeah, there's this old guy down in Tupelo, Mississippi that's been doing this for a while. We should ask him, I guess is how that started. But I also have a different take on things. I believe in the ability of clients to go where they want to go if they have the information. And what we're really trying to do in the fiduciary debate, what the Department of Labor is trying to do is noble, which is to say if you have retirement plan money, whether it's an IRA or a retirement plan or anything that's under their jurisdiction, then the people that are giving you advice have to be fiduciaries. They have to have that standard of care instead of just selling your product. And that's a noble gesture, and it's been a big shift. It'll be a huge shift in our industry if it actually gets implemented in April of this year when it's supposed to. But most people in that debate choose one side or the other. They either want it to happen or they don't want it to happen. The problem with having it implemented is it will end up watering down the fiduciary rule in order to include everybody that's not doing it, the 85% that currently aren't doing it. In order to get them in, we're going to have to water it down to a point where it's really not as meaningful to the client as it used to be. I have a problem with that. And on the other side of things, I have a problem with the fact that selling products, by definition, is not a bad thing. We do that in every industry. and great companies do that for a living. The problem is that people don't know they're getting sold a product. And so every good thing that's happened in our business, mutual funds were created by an industry that wanted to sell the mutual fund product. And now we have 25,000 of them out there, or more than that, and they become a mainstay of the investment portfolio. All the good things that have happened have come from somebody creating them and selling them through their sales force. All the bad stuff that's happened has come from the exact same thing. And so when bad things happen, like the crash in '07, came from these bond alternatives that were generated that even the people generating them didn't understand them anymore. And they said, well, we just have to shut all that down. We're shutting down all the good stuff too. I really think, and I'm different from everybody else that speaks on this nationally as far as I can tell, I think that the fiduciary standard is a great plan B. Plan A would be possibly to just explain to the public, the investors out there, what you do for a living, and then not let the advertising. Advertisements over the last 20 years have been able to say whatever they want to say. Mm-hmm. You have the green line that says we're going to we're getting you where you need to go. And we have you come first and all this stuff. Well, you really don't come first in a product-based business. And so really just allowing the client to understand what you do for a living and allow them to choose. Mm-hmm. I talked about actually a guy who's a client of our firm, a guy I love dearly, was a used car salesman, and I bought a lot of used cars from him. But there wasn't a moment in time where I thought that he was putting my interest above his own. But he was really good at what he did, and I used him for that. And so there's nothing inherently wrong with what he did, and I understood it, and we had a great relationship. In our business, the problem is you don't know who's selling the product and who's not. And somebody said it's like a butcher. A butcher will sell you a piece of meat. They're not going to send you to the fish market if you want fish. They're going to try to sell you a piece of meat. Mm-hmm. They don't believe in vegetarians. They believe in selling meat. Right. And then you have a dietitian who's going to tell you what you need to eat that's going to be best for you. Now, the fiduciary is really the dietitian of the group. But if you know you want a piece of meat, you don't go to the dietitian and say, what's the best piece of meat I can possibly get? You go to the butcher because they know what the best piece of meat is. And so what we are at Hardy Reid is we're the dietitians, but we also, when you need a piece of meat, we go out and try to figure out what the best piece of meat is, and we use that as part of your portfolio. Mm-hmm. And so it is a different world that we live in, and we're very proud of it. But the fiduciary debate is huge, and I'm not sure it'll ever go where I want it to go, which is maybe just quit lying to the public, tell them in words that they understand what you do, mm-hmm. and let them make their own choices about what they need, because what we do is not right for everybody. What we do is not right for a lot of people. If you've got a strong desire to make your own decisions, and you want information to come into you so you can have that information to make decisions, we're not your firm. But brokerage firm would be great for that, because those guys know everything out there, and they can tell you what it is, and they can tell you what it's like, and then you make your own choices. But if you need somebody to manage things to your best interest and be experts on what you need to try to get from here to here, and you want us to do it at our discretion on a day-to-day basis, then we're perfect for that. The problem is that everybody thinks they want what we do, even if they don't, and everybody in our business wants to look like what we look like because that's what everybody's looking for. Mm-hmm. And so now everybody looks the same, they just don't do the same thing.
So it's the knowledge that the people need to have making that decision that's so important.
Yeah, we get caught up in legalese, and I mean, you read contracts, you can't understand them. You read, there's so many disclaimers to everything. It is really unfortunate that we have legalized ourselves to a point where our contracts don't tell people what we do. And then on the other side of it, it appears, and there are rules against a lot of this, but it appears that you can pretty much say about anything you want to in a commercial. And Tommy Lee Jones says, hey, you need to be with us. And he was a U.S. Marshal in 3 movies. I mean, that's pretty impressive. U.S. Marshals wouldn't lie to you. And Sam Waterston was the assistant DA of New York for 10 years, 10 seasons. Mm-hmm. Anyway, 10 seasons. And why would he lie to you? we were talking earlier about the fact that in our business it's illegal to have testimonials from clients who actually have lived through whatever it is that you do,
Benefited from it,
and say that these people have done a good job. But it's not illegal to have someone, an actor, come in and pretend to have had a great time.
Right.
Hard to understand a lot of the rules out there, but if they would just enforce the rules on the advertising side of things, then we could change a lot of what's going on, I think. And if people had the opportunity to make informed choices, in our business, I think the main problem is that people aren't informed.
That's why these videos like this are so important, to just start that communication.
Well, and to understand the differences.
Yeah.
I mean, there are vast differences between what people do out there, and if you look at their business cards, this goes way back, but after the crash of '29, there was a thing called the Glass-Steagall Act in 1933. They enacted an act called the Glass-Steagall Act that basically said that people that sold stocks and bonds and things like that couldn't pretend to be like banks, right? Where banks couldn't do that, and you couldn't pretend to be like somebody that you weren't. So people couldn't accidentally take more risks than they wanted to. It worked well for 60 years. And then we started rescinding Glass-Steagall in the early 90s. And I remember the day that they let us change our business cards to say almost whatever we wanted. Because I was proud of it. My business card said stockbroker. And I passed the test and did all that stuff, and I was proud of it. And then they said, you can really, you can be a financial broker, you can be an investment broker, you can be an investment advisor, you can be a lot of different things. And so everybody's business card starts sounding like everybody else's, because everybody wanted an advisor, and they wanted something more than just a stockbroker or an insurance agent or whatever. Well, Glass-Steagall continued to rescind. Congress continued to rescind all of the Glass-Steagall Act until at the end of the 1990s they rescinded all of it. And what happened in 2000? With the second worst crash and second worst bear market in the history of the country, followed by the second worst bear market in the history of the country in 2007. And I don't think that that's a coincidence. I think the inability for the public to know what people actually do for a living in our business can be enormously detrimental. And that's what happened. And so now we've gone through the crash. We've gone through both crashes. Now we started making money again. And what's happening now? We're starting to loosen up regulations all over again. And it's certainly the pendulum swings. There are too many regulations. After two horrible downturns like that, the regulations just shove into an exhaustive rate, and costs go up in our business and all that stuff. And so we start complaining about it. Then we have a few good years in a row, and everybody says, yeah, we give them a break, let them make some money. And then they start swinging it the other way. So we're swinging the other way now. But the one thing that hasn't changed enough is this is the objectivity and the illumination of what different people in our business do for a living.